A rare and remarkable film, in my estimation, one that symbolically takes its angry and alienated baby boy protagonist from birth to death. Frankie's death scene has to be one of the harshest ever in a crime movie. It was filmed on the Jamaica Bay estuary at the tip of Long Island. Known as the Old Mill, the place was long rumored to be a dumping ground for victims of the mob. Director Alan Barron chose it precisely for that reason, and because it was so isolated, they could get in a full day's shooting without permits. What wasn't expected was the hurricane and snowstorm, which made the scene even more effective and more treacherous to shoot. Barron did his own stunts, of course, including Frankie's one-take death drop into the freezing bay. It's truly one of the coldest, bleakest endings in noir. Now, an odd connection between Blast of Silence and classic Hollywood is the camera equipment used to make this film. Barron had worked as a crew member on Errol Flynn's last movie, a crazy independent film shot in 1959 called Cuban Rebel Girls. It was made on location in Havana during the revolution, and the filmmakers had to flee the country in a hurry, leaving the equipment behind. Barron made a deal with the producer that if he smuggled himself into Cuba and smuggled out the gear, he could use it free of charge to shoot his first movie. Complicating things even further was the fact that Barron was a wanted man in Cuba. He accidentally shot and wounded a local man during the making of Cuban Rebel Girls, and he unwittingly slept with the girlfriend of a local gangster. Unlike his screen avatar, Barron made it out of his dangerous assignment intact. Once Blast of Silence was completed, Barron agreed to a bad distribution deal with Universal, which bought the film in perpetuity for only $50,000. At that point, there was no way Barron could have known that his movie would eventually be a cult classic. It steadily earned money for Universal over 7 decades, but Barron hasn't seen a nickel of it. It did, however, earn him a directing gig with Warner Brothers, starting Barron on a long career, mostly as a television director. Another guy who got a jump start from this film was Larry Tucker, who played Big Ralph. Tucker was mainly a comedy writer. He'd provided material for topical comedian Mort Saul, and he'd become a writing partner of director Paul Mazursky. Their script for Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice was nominated for an Oscar in 1971. One of Tucker's few other acting roles was as the inmate Pagliacci in Sam Fuller's 1963 psychodrama Shock Corridor. As for Molly McCarthy, prior to this, she'd only made one other movie, the terrific 1959 heist picture, The Great St. Louis Bank Robbery, where she starred opposite a young Steve McQueen. She was in lots of TV shows in the early 60s, but didn't make any more movies until the 80s. In all 3, she lent support to the same star, Matt Dillon, Over the Edge, Liar's Moon, and The Flamingo Kid. After that, she quit for good. Back in 2013, Alan Barron was my special guest at a Noir City show in San Francisco. The robust 86-year-old director received a rousing ovation from a whole new generation following a screening of Blast of Silence. We paid Alan tribute by bestowing on him a brand new version of the stingy-brimmed fedora he wore in the film. No Christmas Day show next week as Noir Alley steps aside for a full day of holiday programming. But I'll be back on New Year's Day with a very appropriate film, Repeat Performance, in which Joan Leslie gets her New Year's Eve wish, reliving the previous year to avoid committing murder. It's a cross between film noir and The Twilight Zone, and it's been restored by my Film Noir Foundation to its original dark luster. Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks to ring in another year of Noir Alley.